Speed is a language understood everywhere. A pulse that connects riders and machines in a shared pursuit of balance and control. Every generation has that one creation that changes what performance means. Not just in numbers, but in the feeling it leaves behind. Sometimes it is a machine so far ahead that even its rivals study it for years trying to understand how it did what it did. Today we revisit one of those moments. A turning point that reshaped the future of MotoGP and defined the benchmark for engineering brilliance in the early 2000s. So buckle in, because this is the story of how one motorcycle transformed competition into domination, and how its legacy continues to echo across modern racing. If you enjoy deep dives into iconic machines that changed the course of speed, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment which legend you want to explore next. In 2002, the Honda RC211V entered MotoGP and immediately became the defining machine of a new era. After years of two-stroke supremacy, the championship had opened its doors to four-stroke engines, and Honda arrived with a purpose-built response that would alter the landscape of motorcycle racing. The RC211V was not an evolution. It was a revolution designed from the ground up to meet the new rules and exceed every expectation that came with them. Honda's engineers had spent years preparing for this moment, anticipating the end of the 500 cubic centimeters two-stroke age, and when the lights went green for the 2002 season, they were ready to showcase what four-stroke power could really do. At the heart of the Honda RC211V was a 990 cubic centimeters V5 engine, an unusual configuration that became its secret weapon. Instead of following the conventional inline-4 or V4 layouts, Honda chose 5 cylinders to balance power delivery, torque, and compactness. 3 cylinders sat in the front bank, 2 in the rear, allowing engineers to keep the engine narrow while maintaining excellent mass centralization. The result was a motorcycle that combined explosive acceleration with smooth, predictable control. That balance made it the ideal platform for riders to push further without losing confidence mid-corner. The RC211V's development was rooted in Honda's racing philosophy: precision through engineering. Every component, from its aluminum twin-spar frame to its electronics and aerodynamics, was carefully optimized. The chassis was tuned to allow stability under braking while still offering agility through fast direction changes. Engineers worked tirelessly to manage weight distribution, suspension geometry, and power transfer to the rear wheel. This meticulous attention produced a motorcycle that seemed to do everything right. On the straights it was ferocious, yet it handled with a grace that made it feel almost effortless. The combination of technology and rider feedback defined Honda's approach. The RC211V's first season was paired with a rider who could extract every ounce of its potential. The synergy between human and machine was immediately evident. Early tests showed lap times that shattered previous records, and by the time the first races unfolded, it was clear that MotoGP had entered a new phase. Rivals were scrambling to adjust to the pace. They were still learning what was possible while Honda had already perfected it. To understand how advanced the RC211V was, one must look beyond power figures. Its real breakthrough was usability. Many high-powered bikes before it were fast but unforgiving, difficult to control at the edge of adhesion. The RC211V was different. It translated engineering complexity into smooth, predictable performance. Throttle response was linear, corner exits were stable, and traction was unmatched. Even under heavy stress, the machine maintained its composure, allowing riders to brake later, lean deeper, and accelerate earlier than anyone else. This level of control was no accident. It was the product of Honda's deep integration between engine management, fuel injection, and chassis design. Another critical element was reliability. While other teams battled teething problems with their early four-stroke engines, Honda's V5 ran cleanly, race after race. Its internal balance minimized vibration, reducing wear on components and allowing consistent power delivery. The gearbox was refined for seamless transitions, minimizing loss of momentum during shifts. Each gear change felt like a continuation of motion rather than an interruption. For endurance over a grueling race season, this reliability gave Honda a decisive advantage. Honda's decision to go with the V5 also reflected its long-term strategy. It was not just about winning a season. It was about creating a foundation for future innovation. Engineers saw the RC211V as a platform to test new materials, new electronic systems, and aerodynamic solutions that could later influence road bikes and other racing projects. This mindset helped the team stay ahead of the curve. While others were still learning the basics of MotoGP's new era, Honda was already experimenting with refinements that would shape the next generation of racing motorcycles. In the context of early 2000s racing, this kind of foresight was rare. The transition to four-strokes had left many manufacturers uncertain about how to approach design. Some tried to adapt existing technology from superbikes. Others took more conservative paths. Honda's willingness to gamble on something unconventional, 5 cylinders instead of 4, proved decisive. It allowed them to achieve a perfect blend of high revving power and manageable torque, creating a sweet spot no rival could match. By mid-season, the RC211V's dominance was undeniable. Its rivals could occasionally challenge it in qualifying, but over race distance the combination of power, stability, and tire preservation made it almost untouchable. The machine's ability to maintain pace without degrading its tires became one of its key strengths. Engineers credited this to the smooth torque curve and chassis balance that kept rear grip consistent throughout a race. Every lap reinforced its status as a masterpiece of racing design. However, beneath the headlines and trophies, the RC211V's story was more than just about winning. It marked the moment when MotoGP became truly modern. The integration of electronics, the focus on weight centralization, and the precise coordination between engine and chassis all reflected a new approach to racing technology. The RC211V wasn't just fast, it was smart. It represented the beginning of data-driven performance, where engineering decisions were guided by telemetry and computer analysis rather than instinct alone. Honda's approach was both methodical and bold. They gathered terabytes of data from every test and race, constantly refining the machine. Minor changes in exhaust design, engine mapping, and suspension setup were analyzed to extract even the smallest gains. The result was an iterative process that kept the RC211V evolving throughout the season. Unlike some competitors who released updates sporadically, Honda treated development as a continuous loop of improvement. This discipline kept the machine ahead not just technically, but psychologically. Rivals knew they were always chasing a moving target. The cultural impact within the racing community was immense. Mechanics, engineers, and fans could sense that something extraordinary was happening. The RC211V was not just a bike. It was a symbol of what could be achieved when engineering excellence met relentless ambition. It embodied the idea that dominance is not an accident. It is designed, built, and refined with purpose. As the 2002 season unfolded, the RC211V's performance forced every other manufacturer to rethink its direction. Suddenly, everyone wanted to understand the secret behind Honda's 5-cylinder layout, its mass distribution, and its seamless power delivery. Some even attempted to reverse-engineer aspects of the design through observation and analysis. Yet no one could fully replicate the harmony of the RC211V because it wasn't just a sum of its parts. It was the outcome of a philosophy that fused precision engineering with adaptability. The Honda RC211V entered its second season carrying the weight of expectation. After a year of near-total dominance, the challenge was no longer proving it could win, but proving it could keep winning. In racing, staying on top is often harder than getting there. Rivals study every move, copy every visible component, and search for weaknesses. For Honda, the mission became one of evolution rather than revolution. To take a perfect machine and make it better without losing the balance that made it special. At this stage, the Honda RC211V was more than just a motorcycle. It was a system of constant development. Engineers in Japan and at the track worked in parallel, feeding data back and forth. They refined fuel injection mapping, adjusted valve timing, and experimented with subtle frame reinforcements. The bike's overall geometry remained recognizable, but under the fairing, countless refinements took shape. Honda's goal was consistency across all its riders, ensuring that every RC211V on the grid could deliver championship-winning performance. This approach reflected Honda's deep belief in incremental progress. Instead of radical redesigns, they focused on extracting efficiency from every subsystem. Even minor improvements in throttle smoothness or engine braking could translate to crucial tenths of a second per lap. Riders reported that each new iteration of the RC211V felt more responsive, more predictable under stress, and easier to manage in long races. For the engineers, this feedback loop was validation of their method. One of the most significant advancements in the second-generation RC211V was the refinement of its electronic control systems. MotoGP had entered the age of sophisticated engine management, and Honda led the way in integrating real-time data into performance tuning. Throttle-by-wire technology allowed precise modulation of power delivery, reducing wheel spin on corner exits and maximizing acceleration without overloading the rear tire. Combined with an improved gearbox and clutch system, the result was a machine that could maintain traction even under extreme lean angles. The RC211 versus stability under braking also became legendary. Honda's engineers had found the perfect synergy between suspension and chassis rigidity, enabling riders to brake later and deeper than ever before. This characteristic became a psychological weapon. When others hesitated at the braking zone, the RC211V could dive in with confidence. Its braking control systems, including advanced engine braking strategies, allowed smooth deceleration without unsettling the bike's balance. This level of predictability gave riders an advantage in overtaking and defensive maneuvers. While performance was the headline, Honda also prioritized reliability and rider comfort. The demands of MotoGP were brutal, with races pushing both machines and humans to their limits. A breakdown at high speed could mean the end of a season's campaign, so durability was non-negotiable. Honda's attention to internal cooling, oil flow, and material strength ensured that the RC211V could endure repeated high-load conditions without mechanical issues. This reliability was not just mechanical pride, it was a strategic advantage. Consistent finishes win championships. Meanwhile, other teams were closing in. Competitors introduced their own four-stroke machines, some adopting aggressive power strategies, others chasing lighter chassis concepts. The grid grew more competitive, but the RC211 versus advantage remained rooted in its holistic design. It wasn't the most powerful engine in raw numbers, but it was the most complete package. Every element worked in harmony, allowing riders to extract maximum performance without excessive risk. Honda's structure as a racing organization also contributed to its continued success. The company maintained separate development streams for the factory team and satellite teams, gathering data from multiple riders and circuits. This wealth of information allowed engineers to make informed adjustments quickly. Each race weekend functioned as both competition and research experiment. The RC211V was, in essence, a rolling laboratory of performance data. As technology advanced, the RC211V became an increasingly sophisticated instrument. Sensors measured suspension travel, tire temperature, lean angle, and fuel consumption in real time. Engineers used this information to fine-tune setups for specific tracks. The aim was precision. Every circuit required a slightly different balance of power delivery, braking response, and chassis stiffness. The level of customization available to each rider was remarkable for its time. Another key aspect of Honda's strategy was adaptability. As MotoGP's governing body adjusted technical regulations to maintain parity among manufacturers, Honda responded quickly. Weight limits, fuel restrictions, and component durability requirements all changed during the RC211 versus era. Rather than resist these rules, Honda viewed them as opportunities to innovate. The company's engineering teams used constraints as catalysts for creativity, finding new ways to maintain performance under tighter limits. This period also marked an evolution in how riders interacted with engineers. The RC211 versus complexity meant that communication between the person on the bike and the people behind it became crucial. Feedback was not just about how the bike felt, but about interpreting data traces and correlating sensations with measurable parameters. The relationship between rider and machine became symbiotic, almost like a conversation expressed in telemetry graphs and tire marks. Perhaps the most telling measure of the RC211 versus brilliance was its versatility across different riders and circuits. Some machines excel only in specific hands. Others require a particular style to unlock their potential. The RC211V, however, was flexible. Its balanced handling, forgiving power band, and consistent grip allowed multiple riders to compete at the front. It was a universal performer, adaptable to smooth or aggressive techniques, high-speed tracks or tight technical layouts. This trait elevated it beyond being just a fast bike. it became the reference point for MotoGP engineering. By the mid-2000s, as the RC211V continued to dominate, its legacy was already being written. Other manufacturers began adopting similar philosophies, centralizing mass, refining electronics, and emphasizing balance over raw output. In this way, the RC211V shaped the very direction of MotoGP's technological evolution. It became the benchmark against which every new prototype was measured. But Honda's engineers knew change was coming. The announcement of a new displacement limit, reducing engines from 990 cubic centimeters to 800 cubic centimeters for the 2007 season, meant the RC211 versus rain would eventually end. This looming rule change created both urgency and motivation. Honda wanted to leave the 990 cubic centimeters era not just as a winner, but as a symbol of mastery. The remaining seasons became a showcase of continuous refinement. Even as the rest of the field caught up, Honda found new ways to extract performance. Aerodynamics became one area of focus. Subtle changes to the RC211 versus fairing and airbox improved airflow and cooling efficiency. Engine internals were polished for smoother combustion and reduced friction. Honda also invested heavily in tire management, working closely with suppliers to ensure the machine could maintain optimal grip throughout long races. Every adjustment, no matter how small, was guided by data and real-world performance metrics. The Honda RC211V may have retired from MotoGP in 2006, but its influence never left the sport. What began as an ambitious response to new regulations became the blueprint for every racing motorcycle that followed. The 800 cubic centimeters and later 1000 cubic centimeters eras would evolve around principles that the RC211V pioneered: central mass, seamless power delivery, and the marriage of electronics with rider instinct. To understand MotoGP today is to recognize how deeply this machine shaped the DNA of modern racing. When the displacement limit dropped to 800 cubic centimeters, many expected an entirely new playing field. Yet, as the next generation of Honda race bikes appeared, echoes of the RC211V were unmistakable. Its V5 configuration gave way to a V4 layout, but the engineering philosophy remained. Compact mass distribution, smooth throttle response, and integrated chassis dynamics defined Honda's approach to performance. Even the software systems managing traction, fuel injection, and engine braking carry the RC211 versus signature logic. Data-driven, adaptable, and relentlessly precise, the RC211V also left a cultural mark. It redefined what dominance meant, not through brute force but through refinement. Its victories were not chaotic displays of raw speed. They were controlled demonstrations of engineering harmony. Every lap reflected the meticulous process behind its creation. This mindset became Honda's hallmark, inspiring an entire generation of engineers and mechanics to pursue perfection through consistency rather than chance. In MotoGP history, the RC211V stands as a pivot point between two philosophies: the wild unpredictability of the two-stroke era and the calculated precision of the modern four-stroke age. Riders who transitioned between these worlds described it as a revelation. The RC211V did not demand that you fight it. It invited you to collaborate with it. This idea, of the rider and machine working as one system, would define not only Honda's future but the entire sport's evolution. Beyond the racetrack, the RC211 versus legacy spread into production motorcycles. Honda applied its lessons in mass centralization and throttle control to sport bikes that riders could buy and ride every day. Technologies once exclusive to Grand Prix machines, such as electronic steering dampers, slipper clutches, and advanced engine mapping, found their way into street models. The connection between the RC211V and later performance bikes became a source of pride for the brand and a testament to racing's role as the ultimate testing ground. Even today, engineers and fans still dissect the RC211 versus design choices. Its V5 layout remains unique in MotoGP history. No other manufacturer attempted it on such a scale. The decision was bold, expensive, and complex. Yet it worked flawlessly. This willingness to explore unconventional paths became a symbol of Honda's commitment to innovation. The RC211V proved that true progress often lies outside the boundaries of convention. As years passed, the machine's reputation only grew. It became a benchmark for balance, a reminder that dominance achieved through intelligence and discipline lasts longer than dominance achieved through aggression alone. Every modern MotoGP bike, whether built by Honda or a rival manufacturer, carries traces of its influence in engine configuration, electronics, and design philosophy. Even aerodynamic advancements today, such as winglets and airflow management, trace conceptual roots to the RC211 versus aerodynamic efficiency studies from the early 2000s. In retrospect, the RC211 versus greatest achievement was not simply winning championships. It was changing how teams approached problem solving. It demonstrated that victory begins with understanding the relationship between every component. From tire pressure to engine temperature, from fuel mapping to suspension flex, Honda's engineers taught the paddock that details matter, and when combined, they create the difference between competing and dominating. The RC211V also became a symbol of transition for MotoGP itself. The early 2000s were a time when data acquisition technology exploded, and Honda leveraged it better than anyone. The machine's ability to gather, process, and apply information in real time turned MotoGP from an art into a science. Yet, in the hands of skilled riders, it never lost its soul. That balance between data and emotion remains the essence of what makes motorcycle racing so compelling. Fans remember the RC211V for its sound as much as its speed. The V5 engine produced a distinct note, high-pitched yet muscular, a unique rhythm that signaled power delivered with purpose. On race days, it became a soundtrack for dominance. For many, that sound still defines the early MotoGP era. It was the sound of precision, of control, of engineering brilliance expressed through motion. In technical discussions, the RC211 versus power-to-weight ratio, handling balance, and torque curve are still referenced as case studies in optimal design. Universities and engineering programs have used it as a teaching tool to illustrate applied physics and mechanical harmony. It became a legend not only in sport but also in academia, a rare honor for any racing machine. While technology has moved forward and today's bikes are faster, lighter, and more electronically complex, few machines have ever matched the RC211 versus purity of purpose. It existed in a unique window of time when innovation was unrestricted and engineers could push boundaries with minimal constraints. That freedom allowed creativity to flourish, resulting in a machine that remains timeless. By the time the final RC211V crossed the finish line, its achievements had rewritten MotoGP history. It had captured multiple championships, inspired countless designs, and cemented its place as one of the greatest racing motorcycles ever built. Yet its true power lies in how it continues to influence the present. Every time a new generation of engineers begins a MotoGP project, they are, knowingly or not, working in the shadow of the RC211V. In the years that followed, as technology became increasingly automated, many enthusiasts looked back on the RC211V as the perfect bridge between human skill and machine intelligence. It represented the last era when a rider's feel and an engineer's calculation met perfectly in the middle. It was analog precision meeting digital insight. It showed that progress does not erase the past, it builds upon it. Ultimately, the Honda RC211V stands as a reminder that great machines are not just tools for victory. They are expressions of philosophy. Honda's vision of harmony between man, machine, and technology came alive in that motorcycle. It is why, decades later, the RC211V continues to be spoken of with reverence, not nostalgia. It remains relevant because it represents what engineering strives for: performance without compromise, innovation with purpose, and dominance through understanding. In the final part, we will bring the RC211 versus story full circle. How it changed MotoGP, what lessons it left behind, and why its influence still defines the limits of speed today. The story of the Honda RC211V ends not with a single race but with an enduring legacy that still shapes the way we think about performance. When the checkered flag waved for the last time in its era, Honda had done more than win championships. It had redefined what a racing motorcycle could be. The RC211V proved that true speed is not only measured in horsepower or lap times, but in the harmony between design, technology, and human control. The RC211 versus journey through MotoGP was a masterclass in precision. It entered the scene as a daring experiment with 5 cylinders, and left as a legend that influenced every machine that followed. What made it extraordinary was not only the innovation beneath its fairings but the mindset behind its creation. Honda's engineers approached the RC211V as a system built on balance. Every line, every weld, every parameter was chosen to create a motorcycle that responded naturally to its rider. That philosophy, building for feel, not just figures, remains central to MotoGP engineering today. In racing, dominance often fades with time, but the RC211 versus example continues to resonate. It showed that perfection is never a static target. Even at the peak of success, Honda kept refining, proving that progress comes from discipline as much as inspiration. It's why engineers and fans still reference the RC211V when discussing the most complete racing machines ever built. Perhaps its most lasting contribution is the concept of integration. The RC211V unified mechanical engineering with electronic intelligence long before such synergy became standard. It anticipated a world where data analysis, real-time adjustments, and rider intuition would coexist seamlessly. That forward-thinking approach helped shape modern MotoGP into the precision-driven sport it is today. For riders, the RC211V represented trust. It gave them confidence to push boundaries, to brake harder, lean deeper, and accelerate earlier. It turned the impossible into routine. For engineers, it was proof that innovation could be graceful, that complexity could serve simplicity. For fans, it was an unforgettable sight, a machine that seemed to glide rather than fight its way around every corner. Years later, when you look at MotoGP's evolution, you can trace a clear line back to the RC211V. The focus on mass centralization, the obsession with seamless power delivery, the pursuit of mechanical harmony, all originated from lessons learned during its reign. Even aerodynamic concepts, once a minor detail, became central because of the groundwork laid in that era. The RC211V was more than a champion. It was a transition point in history. It connected the artistry of the past with the analytics of the future. It showed that when human instinct and machine intelligence align, speed becomes something almost poetic. That harmony is what keeps its story alive every time a modern MotoGP bike fires up on the grid. And perhaps that is the RC211 versus greatest triumph. It did not just dominate a moment in time, it redefined the standard of excellence for everything that came after. It remains a living lesson in how innovation, when guided by purpose, can transform an entire sport. If this story inspired you, take a moment to reflect on how far technology has come, and how much of it began with one bold idea and a 5-cylinder roar. Like, subscribe, and let us know which legendary machine you want to see explored next. Because the pursuit of speed never ends, and the stories behind it are what keep the passion alive.